And topic 3. Now we are going to be reviewing Ateez's second mini album, Treasure EP.2, 0 to 1. You might notice we lost Jacob. He had to go home.
It's funny because Jacob's literally he's literally here from at my house from 8 o'clock at night, and then we leave at 8 o'clock in the morning almost. So he's barely here for 12 hours, and he has to come back next week, which is really funny. But
and then 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, and then 2 weeks after that for Red Velvet. So basically, Jacob's essentially living at my house now.
For weekends, yeah. But yeah, we're recording this right before our live stream for the Truly Daebak Fan Awards. So Jacob had to leave. But yeah, we're reviewing Ateez's second EP. And we're starting off with Hala Hala, Hearts Awakened, Live Alive.
At least they actually contextualize what Hala Hala means.
Yeah, exactly.
I just thought it just sounds. There's a Filipino drink called Halo Halo. I don't even know how do I explain. It's like tapioca with sugar and I don't know. It's like some sweet syrup. I don't know, some sweet syrup type thing. My DA girl probably knows what I'm talking about, but I just keep thinking they're singing Halo Halo. I'm just like, damn, I want some Halo Halo now.
Yeah. So yeah, this is not the single, but it did have a performance music video, which is a shortened version of the song. The full song's on the album and Spotify and everything, of course. Mm-hmm. But for me, I really like the opening open sounding beginning. It's very open, pulling a Jacob a little bit with how it feels. But then the build up to the chorus is fantastic. We get almost power metal style vocals from one of them.
I mean, that kind of just feels like Ateez in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They just do that a lot, which is great. And I think the drop is really good because it's not too hard. And there's a great mix of different sounds going on. The first part of it's vocals, and then the second part they repeat the vocals but distort them, which I thought was really cool. The second verse is absolutely amazing with a really awesome bass line. I kind of wish they included that more.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall I thought the song's amazing. And the choreo is fantastic. And the outfits during the performance video are just ridiculous. They're basically Final Fantasy cowboy villains.
Yeah,
it's I don't know. It's so weird.
I don't know what exactly about Ateez as a group that they thought, okay, let's do sexy emo cowboys. I don't know I don't know how to explain it other than that, basically. But it works. It's definitely something that's it's a memorable part of this entire comeback, honestly, because when they first saw the teaser photos, I was like, what the hell are they doing? What are they doing with this? Was that all your thoughts, or?
Yep, that's it for me.
So on my end, this is easily my favorite of the album tracks, because again, like you mentioned, incredible drop, and that chorus. The only way I could explain it really is it kind of reminded me of the do 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 part. It kind of reminded me of something from freaking Linkin Park, back in the early 2000s, some weird nu metal type shit, just really interesting beat. And yeah, it definitely makes it a memorable element that I can remember it off the top of my head like that. Again, like you mentioned, there's this feature bass element that they bring into the second verse, which I'm always a fan of more feature bass, so that's never a bad thing to incorporate all the time. But mostly, I want to talk about the reason why I wanted to bring up the performance video is just how incredible this choreography is. Not just the choreography, just. Again, it's just a performance video, but the way because it's letterboxed, so there's the top and bottom white borders, and I love how they sort of break the border, they break the top and bottom white borders very often, where they protrude through the border. I love that effect. There's it's I forget what exactly it's called. It's like a window or a shutter effect or whatever that people do with GIFs, so it looks like it's 3D or something like that. But it's so cool. Yeah. And again, they could have just made some half-assed dance practice or something where it's just them in a room or whatever. But they really put a lot of thought into that, because remember, The first Treasure episode 1, Treasure was the single, and then Pirate King was the like the supplementary song. But Pirate King felt like almost like a full music video on its own as well. Same thing with this. Like they put a lot of thought into all the supplementary stuff. So I really enjoy that the attention to detail that they have in this. So
yep. Next we have Say My Name, which is the actual single for the album. And for me, this is a great continuation of their debut. I think it's another amazing single. The instrumentals for the song are fantastic. Like, there's like a great electronic beat, and then it's mixed with this really good acoustic guitar line. I thought those worked really well together. The pre-chorus build-up is just top tier. Like, it's actually something I know Cooper talks a lot about, is like their pre-choruses are just insanely good.
Yeah.
And this is another one that is, I love how it builds in like the end of the pre-chorus. It has like group vocals. Trumpet part during the chorus is great. I originally thought the Say My Name part was a little annoying. I've gotten over it, and I think I enjoy it more now. It's still probably like the weakest part of the song, but I don't think it's bad. The vocal focus on the bridge is amazing. And for the final chorus, they add this like really awesome chiptune synth.
Yeah,
and
that's my favorite part. That's my favorite
so
part
good.
of the whole song. It's so good.
Exactly. And for the music video, I like the aesthetic of like the windows and the glass box, and like there's some like cool stuff they're doing with the aesthetic. But yeah, overall it's another fantastic song from them. Choreo's great too. The part where they walk side to side during the chorus is like really interesting. So yeah, I love it.
Following up on like that visual element, I think the one thing that's sort of, because we didn't cover like Treasure, like episode 1 or whatever. I don't know why we just never got around to it. But I wanted to cover this, especially just because I feel Ateez is just, there's something about what KQ is doing with this group that I'm able to identify what Ateez is or what their visual elements are so easily, that basically whenever I read like Pirate King or Treasure or Hala Hala or Say My Name, I'm just like, okay, it resonates with me immediately. Like, okay, this is an Ateez music video. Like, they have, that's probably the hardest part about any new group, where like oftentimes they fall into the trap of, okay, let's try to carbon copy some really popular group, like musically and visually. But with this, I can immediately tell it's Ateez. I can't exactly nail it down what it is. It's probably, I'd say it'd probably be their commitment to theming and costuming, because again, if you're thinking about like Treasure and Pirate King, that's got like this very like, I don't know, like Middle Eastern Arabian feel to it, where this is just like some weird, like, again, it's weird sexy cowboy sort of thing. So again, I love that they're making that commitment to just sort of theming everything around it. Again, I don't really know what exactly it has to do with the song necessarily, but again, just making those visual elements identifiable, I feel like is what's going to help people. Again, as a new group, they're obviously going to be disadvantaged in comparison to other groups that have the name recognition, but what makes you stick around is if you leave those elements that people will be like, okay, I remember it's that group with the cowboy hats or whatever. Like, even if something simple like that it will leave a lasting impression on people. So I feel like that's such an important part, and which is why I'm so in love with all the visual elements of this group. So getting into the actual song, I feel like the reason why we might be starting to come around to Ateez is because they sort of fall under the same like super hype boy group category that groups like Monsta X 100%. And like Stray Kids fall under. Again, like we mentioned it in our 17 review. Yeah, where it's just like we have a particular like style of boy group that we tend to gravitate towards, and Ateez is that almost 100%. So they just really make good hype trap songs with amazing drops. God, I'm really bad. I know Ateez fans are gonna be really mad at this. I don't know anyone's names. I'm sorry, but the guy with the really deep voice is incredible. Like every time they've used it, because they used it on Pirate King, like the ooh that part, and then he's like doing the Say My Name part in this, which is again that's another element that's it's not something he has such a unique voice, and the way that they're able to utilize it in the choruses that way is again something that leaves a lasting impression. I love how they sort of they layer it a bit to make it a bit more powerful, and then they add like a tinge of like auto tune or just like vocal processing to it. Again, you mentioned before the chorus can get a bit tad repetitive, but it's not something that ruins the entire song, mostly because, as you mentioned before, the choreography makes up for it. That part where they're just like slow walking side to side, it ties in well, or it's probably a good idea for them not to have that complicated of a lyrical structure in the chorus so that people can focus on the point dance. That's definitely a conscious decision they made, but like overall, I think I'm just super impressed with KQ and just how much it seems like there's no expenses spared when it comes to everything that they've done so far. Where most new groups, they only get one music video. They've gotten 2 music videos with 2 comebacks now. Like the sets aren't just basic sets. They like put a lot of detail into the sets and the outfits or whatever. So like. And that comes through so clear in just how much this label seems to care about Ateez doing well, and it's paying off. Like I think all their videos have like 5 million views, they have a lot of views surprisingly for. Again, KQ you've only really heard of. I think KQ is the main company, and then they have like a bunch of different like sub labels where one of them is 7Cs, which is the one Block B is under, I believe. But yeah, I've never heard of KQ before that. In all honesty, like, did you or?
No, I've never heard of them.
So I'm just super impressed with just how much they seem to be willing to put the effort and put the money behind this group, because it's going to pay off. I feel like it's going to pay off, and they might end up being like one of those breakthrough artists of the year, or like really big groups that start to blow up this year. And Jacob, last night we were watching the video, Jacob and I were like, damn, I wish Ateez goes to KCON, because they feel like a perfect group that would come to KCON, like really an up and coming boy group that sort of needs the exposure and is sort of appeals to what international fans really like. So I feel like they're that group or they fit that archetype to the T.
Yeah, I agree. Next we have Desire. And for this, the first thing that stood out obviously was a falsetto. It's so good. And on top of that, the glitchy instrumentals, like fit really well. And I like, once again, this is another like more minimalist drop. This one's a lot more minimalist, but it really helps the vocals focus. I know you talked about it in 17. You didn't really like anti-drops. No. So I don't know if you probably don't feel that great about this one either. But I thought it helped the vocals fill out the song. For the rap, the first rap part is fantastic. It's really well executed, and I really like the synth line during it. I like, and then in the ending rap part, it gets a little Changbin like yelly, and I love it. I was like, they're channeling Changbin here and just yelling, and I thought that was good. My favorite part of the song is probably the ending. Like, it's just a really intense instrumental build with them repeating the phrase "I love my desire." Yeah. But just like how intense that instrumental builds was, like, I really, really liked it.
Yeah. So with that bridge part, it kind of reminds you of something like Outrun, Tron, Daft Punk type thing, like those arpeggios. That's probably my favorite part of this entire song. So yeah, like you mentioned, I wasn't as big of a fan of the anti-drop just because I felt I'd like a bit more cohesion in terms of like the verses are kind of more of like a house beat, whereas that second that rap verse, that second verse, it brings a bit of that future bass back into it that we sort of felt in Hala Hala. So again, I like a bit more cohesion in that end, but that being said, it didn't ruin the song entirely for me just because I felt like it's still a really, really good song just because I felt like the instrumentals were still solid between the two. And yeah, again, that chorus is still, vocally, it's still good despite it being an anti-drop, so.
Yep. Next, we have Light. And this is a really good acoustic R&B song. I think the beginning really gives the vocalists time to shine. And I thought this was a good mix of singing and rapping and giving everyone a chance to show off their skills. But I think overall this one probably stood out the least to me. But it's still fantastic. Oh.
Actually, this is probably like second favorite behind Hala Hala in all honesty. Like, because I really love when boy groups that are known for like hype songs just sort of they incorporate like the ballady element to it just because it's a nice change of pace so that you're not just inundated with just hype levels and it just kind of you get numb to it after a while. I like this change of pace often on albums. So it's obviously more of a slow jam, but again, it's a good chance for them to showcase their vocals a lot more than they normally would on singles like Say My Name or Treasure. So I don't know, just this chorus was super addicting to me. Like the way that they harmonized Starlight just was incredible. I like that the biggest trap that a lot of these hype boy groups do is they try, even in their ballady songs, they try to force rap lines, and I like that they didn't try to force the rap line on this because it felt just fine as it was with just vocals. Like if in fact the rap line was actually singing in this, and that's a good idea because you should try. I feel like you should try to incorporate their singing from time to time, like even in like singles. You should, just because again, just having them be too one-dimensional is you make them less versatile, and you just box them in too much into archetypes where, okay, you're only doing raps, where I feel like, especially in boy groups, you should have a bit more versatility to you so you can sort of explore genre or different styles of sounds like this. So yeah, I'm usually the one that gets bored by slow songs like this, but I felt this was incredible, and it showcased that they're more than just like a hype group or whatever. They have actual vocal talent here.
And finally, we have Promise. For this, I thought the main melody for the synths is really good. It's a bit of like a tropical house Latin style beat. So I enjoyed that. And I thought a really interesting part was the piano interlude that cut out the beat. Yeah. I thought it helped pace the song because it helped the drop to like the build to the drop be way more intense by dropping it to such a quiet level. I think the drop chorus is amazing. The instrumentals give me like a DDR style, like super EDM feel. Almost
it's definitely some type of like European techno type stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's just how intense it goes.
Yep. And for this, I thought the rap for the first chorus was amazing. The second chorus they had auto-tune, and so that like dropped it down in my opinion a little bit, but
it kind of
overall
fits with,
I love the song.
It kind of fits with this style of song. Then usually I'm very averse to auto tune, but with this kind of thing, like it definitely fits with the tropical type of vibe. Because there's a lot of tropical house like where they invite like the guest rapper is somebody that just exclusively uses auto tune for whatever reason. Again, normally I hate tropical house. But I feel like what makes this more than your standard sort of K-pop tropical house song is, again, that chorus where I feel a lot of them are too one-dimensional where there's not really much of an intensity change between verse and chorus, whereas this, obviously, they make it a lot fuller with that dun 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 dun, dun, like that synth in the background just goes really ham. It's more akin to like proper tropical house that comes out of like from European like producers or like actual like Latin producers. So it feels more like Western style tropical house than the one that's sort of the way that they usually approach it in K-pop. So I like that sort of change or that sort of unique aspect to it. It definitely seems like a great song that it had choreo or like any type of music video performance too.
Yeah.
So they could easily have made it an additional music video for this, and it'd still be fitting with, I guess, theming, but I think it was a great way to end the mini album. And despite the mini only being 5 tracks, I felt like this was the perfect amount. Like there was no there were no unnecessary tracks at all in this, which is very rare, I feel, because you especially with new groups, you're trying to build discography up, so you're very tempted to just be like, okay, let's do like album immediately. But I like this. Just keep it concise. Keep it make all the songs meaningful so that people won't just be like get bored of you immediately. And I do really appreciate that about Ateez. It just seems like they're able to curate it specifically to theme and keep it very much interesting. It doesn't waste your time, and that's something that I think we value a lot at this point, because we're listening to hundreds of albums all the time. So yeah, I didn't feel like at all. I did not feel like this album wasted my time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll get to our scores, and we'll read Cooper and Jacob's thoughts for the album. For me, overall, I gave it a 6.5 out of 7 for music. I thought everything was fantastic. There's just a couple small things here and there that stopped me from giving it a full 7 out of 7. I think Light needed to blow me away a little bit more, and that would probably put it at a 7 out of 7 for me. But then I gave it a 3 out of 3 for concept, because I thought the choreo is fantastic, the styling's fantastic, the aesthetic of the music video is fantastic. So yeah, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Easily a very fantastic album.
I think it's just the reason why I ended up enjoying this album so much is because I didn't have that much expectation for Ateez at all. Again, we mentioned it before. We're just like, oh, KQ Fellas. I believe we covered them on releases list, and it was really interesting. But it felt like it wasn't really interesting. But it felt like they brought it to a completely different level once they debuted them as Ateez. So that being said, my music score is a 6 out of 7, with 3 points going to the single and 3 points going to the album tracks. Again, I really loved the single. I really loved the album tracks. I felt like every one of them was captivating. And again, like I mentioned before, it didn't waste my time. I felt like I could listen to all of these tracks. Like usually I'd only like pick and choose whatever favorites of mine when I go back to albums, or just keep it in my running K-pop playlist. But I feel like all of these tracks I can keep and listen to and enjoy repeatedly, and that's something that's very rare for me. Like I usually only just end up picking a title track and then maybe 1 or 2 album tracks, but like that's how standout this is for me. And I'm giving a full 3 points to the concept score, because again, being able to nail down what you are at this stage in the group's like lifespan is very impressive. And I feel like if they're able to like develop this, there's a chance that they blow up. There's a really big chance that Ateez blows up, in all honesty, just because not many new goos are getting like 4 or 5 million views just right out the gate. I feel like that's huge. And I feel there's potential for them to grow a fan base there, and I'm really excited to see what they put out for the rest of the year, because they're probably going to release something like later. They're probably going to release another mini album or 2. So I'd be really excited to go see this group in Korea or at KCON or whatever. I feel like,
they're coming to the US next month, or in March.
When? Really?
You didn't see that? They announced a couple days ago. Like yesterday or 2 days ago. They're already doing a US tour.
Wait.
It was like Dallas, LA, New York, Chicago.
Oh my god, I'm gonna go see them. They're so good.
Yeah. I know the Chicago date was like March 15th. It was the same day Sunmi is in Toronto.
Okay.
So I probably won't go. I don't even know if I'm going to Sunmi, but I probably go to Sunmi over Ateez. Mostly because Sunmi's in Toronto and they're in Chicago, so it's half the distance.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to either, but Yeah, there is one, so you could go see them in March if you want.
Oh, I'm gonna go see them because I feel like, again, the biggest draw for me is that performance aspect where I feel like they give you your money's worth if you go see it in person. So yeah, overall, that's a 9 out of 10 for me, and I did not expect to give that high of a score to them, in all honesty, just because I felt like they were off my radar for so long, and then bam, just...
Yeah.
It's a really, really great way to start off the year for them. Like, early contender for Best Mini Album of the Year, early contender for, like, Best Boy Group, or, yeah, like, I'm just really impressed with Ateez so far, so. What were Jacob's notes?
Yeah. Just a sec, I was trying to find the tour, dates for you. They will be in New York on March 24th.
March 24th, I'll try to get there then.
Okay. Jacob's thoughts on this album. He said, this EP serves as an excellent follow-up to Ateez's debut album. They've at this point shown to me that they're certainly a rookie worth paying attention to in anticipation for whatever they come out with in the future. Onto the actual album, they surprised me with some hype dance tracks in the vein of the groups we already know and love, like Monsta X and Stray Kids. But that's not meant to chain them to that comparison necessarily, because they have a distinct sound in their own right, which is especially evident in the title track of the EP, Say My Name. With the strength of the more hard-hitting first two tracks, we are also met with similar quality in the slightly less hype and softer B-sides. Every song in the EP was good and stands well on its own. I also would like to give a shout-out to the performance video for Hala Hala. They play around a lot with some really cool visual effects, which Andrew talked about. And he gave the music a 6 out of 7 and the concept a 3 out of 3, overall a 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Cooper was similar in his praise for this, so he said... Cooper, quote, Ateez, y'all, they are really something else. The Texans coming out of Cooper right now. Though granted, I use y'all as well, but I'm not Texan. Their debut was near perfect, and this first comeback is just as good. The title track, Say My Name, is a great follow-up to the Pirate King and Treasure. Their pre-chorus build-ups are fantastically done. The MV for it is pretty standard boy group sets with what is with all the glass boxes of emotion. But I really like the almost Westworld feel to it. Okay, that's a good way to explain it, like just weird futuristic cowboy type stuff. The choreo is really amazing, which is no surprise considering Pirate King was one of my favorite choreographies of last year. The dog walk move is iconic already. Hala Hala, the subtitle track, is also great and an epic song. The B-sides, I think, are even better than their first album. Desire, particularly, is so dark and epic, especially the ending. What I love about Ateez so much is how epic their songs feel. Their vocals are so powerful and upfront, a way I hardly hear in K-pop. The rap line is amazing, too, and Mingi and Hongjoon kill it every time. Also, shout out to Aubrey for introducing me to Ateez. I am a stan for life now. So he gave a 7 out of 7 full marks for music and a 2.5 out of 3 for concept, which adds up to a 9.5 out of 10. So, doing all the so it round up to a 9.5 out of 10, which is that's our highest mark of the year so far. That's just overall. So that's
deserving.
Oh, definitely deserving. It gets the shiny.
Oh yeah, because what did A-Pink get, a 9 overall?
Yeah, I brought it down because I gave it a 7.5.
That's right.
But I was just way more impressed. Again, I feel like with A-Pink, as much as I love, like, I felt like there was too much unnecessary excess on that. Whereas I feel like this is as close to perfect as you can get, where no track feels wasted. So I feel like that's why I gave it as high of a score I did, despite using the lower end of the spectrum now. So, as always, leave us your thoughts on Ateez and Say My Name and the rest of the songs in the comments below, whether you liked it. Who should my bias be? Somebody could tell me the name of the guy with the deep voice, because that's probably going to be my bias. I guess I'll see everyone at the concert in March.
Stop doing horrible mullets in K-pop.
No, the mullet looks so good. No. What are you talking about?
No, mullets never look good. There's no such thing as a good-looking mullet.
Hashtag more mullets. Hashtag more mullets.
The winner is... Congratulations to 3RACHA from Stray Kids. They have worked on a crazy amount of songs in 2018 and are definitely monster rookies. And monster composing rookies too.